Recording. And Katerina and Dr. Eva are live. Woo! Going right in for the start there. Okay, so let me go ahead and welcome everyone to the Sacred Partners podcast. My name is Dr. Eva, and I have an amazing guest and dear sister, Katerina Satori, with me tonight. And I am so grateful to have you here today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, my dear. So happy to step into this alchemy of our soulful dance and see what comes through.
I know. For a long time, I've been wanting Katerina to come on to the podcast because every time I watch her lives, anything she does, I'm instantly mesmerized. Like, I just want to stop everything that I'm doing, even though I have a busy life, kind of mesmerized, you know? And then I just get sucked into her vortex and I'm like, oh my God, it's been an hour. Okay. So, that's the conversation that I'm hoping to have today with my dear sister Katerina, as all of you sit back, relax, and enjoy today's show on the art of romancing your own heart. And if there's anyone that I know that knows how to romance a heart, it's definitely me and definitely Katerina, because I've been watching her romance her own heart for years now. And so she's here with us in the flesh, and we're going to dive deep. So, how are we going to begin? Let's just take a breath in, right, everyone? There we go. Just land in your bodies. Just feel the presence, feel your heart beating. Just feels great. So, the art of romancing your heart. When you think about your own heart and how you love yourself, what comes to mind? And Katerina is going to start to share what comes to mind for her when it comes to the art of romancing her own heart and your own heart in general. So, Katerina, where do you feel like you want to land to answer that question?
I'd like to start with what actually pushed me into this discovery. And it started with disappointments. Disappointments in pretty much every single lover that I had. I had one single complaint. They did not romance me well enough. And I was like, damn it. What is going on with these men? Do I need to educate, give them manuals? What is going on with them? And
Yeah.
it's of course from this perspective, from a higher self perspective, you can see the ego. Ego knows how to complain and how to blame. So
Mm.
I was definitely operating from that place and putting the fault on the other for my disappointment and dissatisfaction. And the more my consciousness would expand and come into coherence with my higher self, I begin to see things from different altitude. You begin to realize, there is this one person in common with every single love disappointment, and it's myself. And I began to go on this discovery of what if I am choosing to give myself what I desire to receive from another. I
Mm.
just flipped the table and began this practice. And then I began really seeing my heart as the source of exquisite beauty, creativity, and connection with the bigger picture. So for me it was building a relationship with that beloved within, with that cosmic consciousness within. And I just began uh, to add more and more beauty very intentionally. Flowers every week, taking myself on beautiful dates, taking myself on a road trip. So I began to add a lot of beauty to my life because that's what I felt like I deeply desired. I just expected my partners to do it for me,
Yeah.
right? That unmet expectation would bring a lot of resentment. And it was a powerful shift to turn it around. You say, whatever I desire to receive from another, I gotta learn how to receive it from myself. And what's so powerful, Eva, the moment I made that shift and I really began to walk this practice,
Yeah, it's a
I began,
practice. Yeah.
yeah, it's practice kind of like yoga. I begin to attract the most romantic man, or maybe I begin to see them as the most romantic man who just like can't wait to share and to create experiences, because I begin to interact with another from the place of fullness, not from the place of lack,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
from the
Well,
place of gratitude instead of disappointment.
yeah. Well, I think if we all took a page out of that book right there and out of that intention, that life intention that you made, I think we could all benefit from it. And also, in the middle of you talking, I was feeling myself mesmerized again. I could feel myself just like moving closer to the screen again. And I'm like, wait, I have to interact in this actually today, you know?
I love you. I adore you so much. The
Seriously.
vortex of enchantment.
I'm serious. Like it just happened immediately. But anyway, if you're mesmerized already, see, I told you. Okay. So back to the heart, right? And back to this feeling like the art of romancing your own heart. Since I have to participate, I might as well, right? Um, so I could listen to Katerina talk all day. It's amazing. Okay. So back to this concept of receiving for myself, right? And what do I desire? Right. And also there's something else that you said, ego knows how to complain and blame, right? We can always blame everyone else for the things that we're not getting, the things that we're feeling like we're lacking. And I always think it's so interesting, when I think about myself and my own relationship from where I came to where I am now, and even all my clients, a lot of women have this fear of, really loving themselves, right? They're just giving, 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 but they just don't know how to receive, right? And it's an interesting concept. If you turn it on your head, we're giving to everyone else, right? But how can we like give to ourselves? And so I'd love to hear how that transition happens on a minute to minute basis for you, because it's a conscious effort, it's an intentional effort, almost in every interaction of life, right? Where you're giving to yourself in that way.
Yes, yes, my dear. You know what I desire to introduce this is really for me. I began to open up my consciousness to seeing the universe from the lens of the sacred feminine, and really I began my remembrance, a greater journey of remembrance of relationship with the great cosmic mother. And so I began my apprenticeship with the feminine face of God, another way to say it, the goddess herself. I began to study ancient wisdom lineages before, the last 5,000 years that was ruled by patriarchy. I began to become very curious to find these wisdom teachings that were honoring the earth, that had so much spaciousness in a lifestyle, right? The people would honor the seasons. There was not like work, 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 work like a slave, and only then you're going to feel worthy. It's be
Right.
with the land, be with each other. Women would weave creations, sing together, raise children together. So I began just really fascinated by identifying ancient cultures who had very different rhythm, how they would move through their lives. So this question of receiving is because we have been disconnected from natural rhythm. So we forgot how to receive from the earth. We just only how to really genuinely have that communication with the earth mother. So then we forgot how to have a natural rhythm with our own body, with our own heart. So for me, that's what really began, just complete shift of my trajectory of life, Eva. And it's restoration of my relationship with my own heart, where the sacred feminine lives, is inside of your heart. So it's this progressive opening and progressive rediscovery of a more elegant way to move through your reality. It's harmonious.
Mm.
It's harmonious. And Eva, what's so beautiful, the more I would remember how to receive, I would empty myself of all paradigms, all belief systems, all thoughts, and I would just become My main intention was, may I be a bigger vessel
Mm.
for the divine feminine to pour itself through me. And what happens when we're connect with the divine feminine, we begin to experience tremendous amount of grace in our life, which is, these magical surprises, serendipities, synchronicities, flow, that becomes our life, because the divine mother just desires to bless us with all incredible beauty and wisdom and harmony. So it's a great return, right? And there was a part of untangling belief systems and untangling of this, productivity by all costs, burnouts. I gotta sacrifice myself and give myself to the point of exhaustion. I was very intentional untangling all of that step by step, belief after belief. And what I found is this incredible life of beauty, harmony, joy, collaboration. It's like I hold nothing back and I don't force anything. There is this divine rhythm, right? You give because you feel a spontaneous desire to share, to serve, to birth something into creativity. And then you also receive. It's just like breath, right? It's in, out, that you find your rhythm again, and your life begins to flow with harmony.
So beautiful. So beautiful. I love it. So the ins and outs and the harmony and the flow of life, right? And there's so many beautiful things that you brought up, but the natural rhythm, a
Yeah.
progressive opening is something that really stuck out for me, in your conversation when you were sharing about the progressive opening, because I felt it myself. There's just like, you think you can expand your heart, and you do, and then you do it again and again and again and again, and it's just an evolution, and it really is a progression of the spirit and the soul's journey. So I'd love for you to share about, from a place of spirit, and specifically when you find yourself in a place where you're not feeling as gratitude, maybe you're waking up with less energy, maybe you're feeling like, you're feeling yourself or something, right? How do you recalibrate to this infinite possibility of the heart, right?
Yes, I love that you brought us there, because
Yeah.
yeah, especially with when we begin to bring our spiritual organs back online, we begin to realize that collective and I are one body. We begin to realize how profoundly we are impacted by the energy waves in the collective, whether it's turbulence or whether it's celebration. We feel it in our being. So the more we become more attuned, the more we register when we fall out of attunement. So on the days where I experience myself, ooh, I'm out of attunement, the fastest way to do it, I go straight into feeling my heart center.
Mm.
I visualize that I have a heart eye. It's actually, in the esoteric traditions, wisdom traditions, they really describe it as an organ of spiritual perception, your heart eye. Just how we have a womb space, we have a third eye, we have a heart eye. So what I do, Eva, I just, whether it's I'm laying inside, I'm laying in my bed, right, and I just
Yeah.
like woke up, and I just feel loss. I feel like entropy, a loss of energy, melancholy. I allow that to be there. And what I do is I focus all of my intention into my heart space, and I visualize a flower. It could be a white rose, it could be a beautiful lotus, it could be an orchid. But what I'm doing, I'm using the symbol of beauty to bring me into a coherent state, right? So I kind of like gather my energy that is split, my attention is here. I bring it all back by focusing on one point of focus, and then I begin to focus on appreciation. Appreciation is the fastest way to raise our vibration. It even rhymes. So I may I may even say to myself, I so appreciate that I have this breath, and no matter how deep my melancholy is, if I remember appreciation raises my vibration, I don't need to fix how I feel. I don't need to run away from it. I can just simply be with it. And by gathering my energy, the energy begins to guide me. It's such a simple tool. I do this at the airports. When I'm at the airport and there's this body scan and this scan, and it gets like a little bit annoying, I visualize my flower. And I go, and I'm like Moses, and the ocean opens up, and I'm just like, go with my heart vibration. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's called establishing harmonious field.
Yeah, that's a really good way of describing it. Um, so as you were talking, I'm wondering if all the listeners had an opportunity to go on that journey with her, right? So did you have a journey to go on to the concept of appreciation raises my vibration? Really sweet, really cute. So when you're focusing on that appreciation, you're really bringing everything into the center of your core, into your heart, and then showing up in that gratitude, and then everything becomes possible again, no matter where you are in your vibe.
That's right. That's right. That's right, Eva. And then the
Beautiful.
appreciation serves as a reminder that life can be trusted fully.
Yeah.
And whatever is arising in the moment, if we remember, I get to open my heart flower, and there's going to be something beautiful because everything is here to help me, right? So everything arises in my life as an expression of love.
Yep.
And that's my deepest practice, Eva, darling. That's my deepest practice. It's like when I'm on the date with a man, right? Maybe it's a first day or second date. When I focus my heart to be open and receptive, and interact with this being in front of me from the place of that heartfelt innocence, right? Like seeing divinity, it's what we see, the eyes that we see becomes like self-fulfilling prophecy. So if I focus on seeing divinity in another, that's the only thing I'm going to see. But if I focus on, oh, he's not giving me this, he's not showing up that, he's not, disappointment, expectations, boom, self-fulfilling prophecy. So the way we focus is literally determines what happens next. That's why the practice of romancing of your own heart is so powerful, because you create an ongoing sense of fulfillment. And
Yeah.
from that ongoing sense of fulfillment, you magnetize more of the same for you.
Yes, I love that. And speaking of the self-fulfilling prophecy, I think we should speak more to this,
Yeah.
Katerina, because um, well, first of all, another way that I look at this before we go into the self-fulfilling prophecy, because that might last the whole entire podcast. We don't know. That's for sure. But another way that I like to think about the same concept that Katerina is talking about is choosing grace, right? It's like choosing grace, choosing a breath, choosing a moment of gratitude or appreciation for that moment, and just choosing grace in every single moment, especially if you're feeling yourself is triggered, or you're in a relationship or partnership, especially since this is, focused on couples. But we're all individuals first before we join a couple. So either way, right? We're getting everything right now. So it's about really speaking into your presence often and over and over and over again, right? Because our mind gets distracted with, airport scans or the baggage claim or the kid that's screaming behind you, right? Our mind gets distracted with all those distortions. But if you, again, envision everything as just one, coming from the heart center out and expanding out, you can really feel into the energy of what Katerina is speaking about so beautifully today.
Yeah, yeah, Eva, isn't it so powerful? Because
Yeah.
it took me quite a while to grasp the multidimensional essence of presence. It was a mental concept for years for me that I tried to arrive
Mm-hmm.
at. And it was that progressive opening of the heart that then actually led me to an experience of true presence, which is unconditional acceptance of another's process.
Yes. And yours. Yeah.
Yeah, and yours, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
both. And yeah.
it is so profound, right?
Yes, and dynamic, but simple at the same time, which is why I also love speaking to you because, for me, I talk to couples about intimacy and vulnerability, and I witness their defense mechanisms and their triggers and invite them into a place that you're speaking about right now. And I love that you bring it to spirit and spirituality because I often have to ground the way that I'm communicating with my couples in a very solution oriented way, So when I hear you speak about it in a very philosophical way, I'm a total philosophy junkie for sure. But when you talk about it in such a philosophy way, and then you find the application within the philosophy, I think that's the thing that you're so brilliant at doing, for people that are listening and understanding these complex concepts that can be simplified if we just choose to simplify them.
Yes, yes, darling. And you know what? I also I had this I thought that came through is, when I began this practice of romancing my own heart, I actually accidentally unlocked a whole new dimension of creative expression.
Yeah,
I noticed that, so like for creativity, in order to create something, like it's so profound to have our creativity fresh instead of stale or
totally.
recycling. So, whenever I create adventures for myself and take myself on a creative date or beauty,
Mm,
or a sauna or massage, like it's just whatever fuels my feminine self,
yeah,
it profoundly affects my creativity, which creativity is increases my expression in the world. My business just expanded in such an elegant and organic way, simply because I began to birth my creation from the place of wholeness, from the place of I am enough. My heart is filled, my soul is filled. So my creations begin to carry that resonance and that frequency, right? Which is, it's so beautiful. So the art of romancing your own heart, to me, this is a lifelong practice.
yeah,
Independently, if I am in the most exquisite romantic relationship, or if I am traveling my path solo, because there are seasons for that, right?
yeah,
um, I have intimacy with my own heart,
yeah,
which is, I also find when that is alive, Eva, I don't I don't lose my healthy boundaries with another. You know how
yeah,
sometimes in the past I would unconsciously merge with another person so deeply I
yeah,
would lose myself.
yeah. Hmm.
And the practice of romancing my own heart on a consistent basis actually helped me transcend that pattern. And like I love my oneness with another, right? When it happens, when it occurs, but I also love keeping my own sovereignty, my energetic sovereignty, which
Yeah.
which adds beauty and mystery and desire, I hear.
Yeah. It definitely does. That's for sure. Yeah. And what you're speaking to is attachment styles, right? Do you have an anxious attachment style, an independent, insecure attachment style? Is it a secure attachment style? Some couples, some people have what would be called a dismissive attachment style. So when we have these different attachment styles, what I love about what Katerina is sharing is it actually cuts through all of the attachment styles. You know what I mean? Like you can actually create a practice and overcome or reframe your attachment style to someone without becoming codependent or enmeshed, like Katerina is talking about, because I've had my fair share of becoming meshed and codependent in partners, way before my marriage, thank God. You know what I mean? I learned my lesson before I got married, but before that, it's hard, when you don't know where you begin and where you end, where this person's day is where you begin and where you start. There's no individuality. And there's this concept, I don't know if you've ever heard of Bowen theory. It's kind of nerdy, I know, but Bowen theory is a systemic understanding of multi-generational family systems, and it talks about emotional ego mass. So emotional ego mass is multi-generationally, what did your family go through emotionally? What are the emotional patterns, and how are they, epigenetics going down from one generation to the next generation? And just this podcast alone, what Katerina is sharing is so much bigger actually than the podcast really deserves. You know what I mean? I wish we could shout it from the rooftops, because it cuts through attachment styles. It cuts through codependence. It cuts through this feeling of losing yourself. I mean, if we can really learn this practice that Katerina is embodying, and that I'm embodying, and that whoever's listening is embodying, if we could really share that and, let the wildfire go. I mean, could you imagine the relationships that we would be having? They would be sovereign, they would be independent, yet in union at the same time. And isn't that what we're all really looking for, right? We don't want to be smothered. We don't want someone to completely evade our heart, soul, and spirit, right? We want to have some independence. And so I just love this, Katerina. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love the way you're able to like summarize and harmonize and
Yeah,
essence. So good, darling. So good.
it's
I
fun.
love
Yeah.
it.
And
Yeah.
I was going to say too, I love that it started from disappointment for you because, we all start somewhere, but I know that there wasn't an emotional bypass, right? Because sometimes we feel feelings and we want to suppress them. But what you did is you sat with it. You were like, yeah, I'm disappointed. This sucks, right? Deep breath in. What the fuck am I going to do about it? You know what I mean? And then you do, what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you found a way through your spirit and through your heart, and now you can meet men and meet them where they are, exactly where they are, without these expectations. I mean, I would love if you have any thoughts about expectations. I'd love to hear that, because I think that's what we do. We get into relationships or we meet a partner and they have to have these boxes filled. And the funny thing is that when you get into a relationship and you're really in love, those boxes are all fine and dandy, but you still have to grow. It's about growth and evolution over a lifetime when you're with your beloved and your partner, especially someone that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. But especially even if it's just a year of your life, how are you going to grow with that human being, right? How are you going to allow their reflection to be the mirror to your own self-work? I mean, Paul's been the best mirror ever. Well, also you have to be willing to look at the mirror. If you can't, people, your partner might have been mirroring shit for you for years. But if you're not really paying attention and being like, oh, that's my trigger, that's not yours, I'm not going to scapegoat you, that's my trigger. And how are you going to sit with it and work from that place? So I'd love to hear your perspective with regard to this topic of, the self-fulfilling prophecy and where it started for you with disappointment and how you think of expectations.
Mm. The alchemy of the sacred mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I, it's I think it was a really beginning to walk the path of Tantra for me, diving deeper into the mystery of Tantra, from the perspective of I am in a relationship with everything in life. Life is my beloved. So every person who shows up, it has an opportunity to hold the mirror, especially the romantic partner, right?
Yeah.
So then it was for me. I was holding on in the past to this very convenient illusion of perfect soulmate, and I would not even engage with anybody that I would not see long-term possibility. So I was like, oh, it's not the one. I already see it, and I also have this
Yeah.
mystical gift that I can see so far. I'm like, oh, it's not gonna
Cool.
work. It's not the one. It's not the one. It's not the one. So self-fulfilling prophecy, of course. My mental beam already. It's not the one. It's not the one. It's not the one. This is not gonna work. This is not gonna work.
Yep.
So it was a classic self-defense avoidant mechanism.
Yeah.
And I had this, through many teachers and guides, I had this epiphany and the breakthrough that is actually, a person who shows up, like spirit brings me this opportunity to walk the path of relationship as a spiritual practice, then the one that I'm with is actually the most aligned alchemical mirror. right? I get to open up my eyes and see that, and being able to and be willing to see the mirror of the reflection, right? So
Yeah.
now, so it changed with this changing of my mental monologue, and,
Okay.
and just beginning to say, thank you for showing up, thank you for, like, feeling, when I feel the pull towards someone, right? Or I feel like there is a dance between our soul.
Yeah.
And what I've been practicing lately, Eva, is I don't even ask a question. Is this the one? How long is this going to be the one? I follow the wisdom of my intuition, and I say, I wonder what I will see here. I
Mm,
wonder what I'll discover here. I am curious. I'm
love
willing to see, I'm willing to discover. So that it's such a open space, right? And then to see the beauty in the soul, to see like there's so many teachers. So yeah, and it's amazing. But to catch that mental projection was not easy. But once I did, I was like, I did it to pretty much every relationship that I've ever been with. And it was a
Yeah.
huge turning point, and so much beauty opened up because the quality of your relating changes,
Yeah.
right? And people feel that you don't have any expectations or pressures, or they don't have to be
Yeah.
anything for you, so they
Exactly.
can reveal who they really are.
Thank you. Can I get a witness on that question? That's an amazing statement. Yes. Can they be who they really are? So it's so amazing when you make space for that, when there's no judgments, there's no criticisms, you're really being aware of your own conscious mind and your relationship with yourself. And are you being nice to yourself? Are you not being nice to yourself? Paired with this idea of curiosity. And I wonder what I'll discover. It's funny, there's a lot of research on couples, and one of the biggest findings that they found was, well, number two, the two biggest things between happily married couples and unhappily married couples. The first two are repairing from an argument. If you don't know how to repair from an argument, you're probably not in a good situation, right? Learning how to communicate and repair. And the other one is positive sentiment override, right? How much positivity are you bringing to the relationship between you and another person, right? And so that's 5 times more positively acknowledging, not 4 times, not 3 times. And so what Katerina is talking about right now, which I just put together as she was saying it, she's talking about how to stay curious over and over a lifetime, even in relationship, whether it's 6 months, whether it's a year, whether it's 9 months. It's not getting caught up in the fear of the future, right? The futurizing. What is it going to be? Am I going to have a baby? Am I not going to have a baby? Is he going to divorce me? Is she going to leave me? I don't know, right? We have all these fears that we have when we get into the relationship. But if you take a page out of Katerina's book and you stay curious and you ask yourself, I wonder what I'll discover today, I bet you're never going to get bored in your relationship.
Yay! Yes, and there's this playfulness
Yeah.
comes online, right? Like we begin to relate to each other from the place of
Yep.
innocence.
Yes. Which is the highest sense of self, the child, when you can get back to the innocence of who you are rather than the societal or cultural or familial expectations, right? These belief systems that actually, Katerina, you were talking about that at the beginning when you were sharing how you were going through each of your belief systems and your biases and kind of checking them off. It's like, oh, where did I get that one from? And that's really interesting. And that must have been my mother or my grandmother. I'm definitely not going to take that belief with me. I'm going to start a new belief, right? And so you repattern yourself is really what you're telling me you did. You repatterned and recycled yourself and got yourself out of those older trance cycles and trauma cycles that we all experience in life. And this is the spiritual embodiment of that.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
awesome.
Yes, Eva. And now, you know what I love about this chapter is every relationship is an adventure.
Yeah.
Every relationship is a beautiful adventure, and I really don't need to know.
Yeah.
Because if I'm so attached to knowing, I
Yeah.
lose the magic. And I am so much more interested in the magic right now,
Oh my gosh. Yes.
right? And it's like that's what lights me up. And every relationship becomes such a beautiful, exquisite adventure, just how life is. So I found also every relationship would mirror to me my relationship with my own heart,
Yeah,
right? And it's like,
absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
And it doesn't even matter how the other person shows up because we can always make a story about someone else, right? It's really focusing in on yourself and noticing how is this possible that it's happening, and then getting curious, and then getting to know, of course, is this person for me? Is this something that I should continue? Does this feel comfortable? Does this feel alive? Does it feel safe? Or does it feel like it's not working intuitively with me, right? Because not everything is going to be aligned, right? But it's giving yourself the ability to do it is the thing.
yes, Eva, and trusting your discernment,
Yeah.
right? It's like the
Yeah.
stronger is my connection with my heart, the
Hmm.
more I trust my own discernment,
Yes.
right? To be able to have that conversation with myself, just like you said,
Yeah.
to be able to have that clear seeing,
Yeah.
is this a lasting alignment? I love asking myself, how at ease I feel in this person energy field.
Mm.
Do I feel ease or do I feel on alert? Do I feel I
Yes. The
naturally desire?
body. Yeah.
Yeah, right? It's amazing.
It really is. Yeah. My body always knows, but even before my mind might be like, yeah. But when I get a hit in my body, I'm like, okay, this could be cool.
Yeah, the body knows faster than the mind.
Yeah, I know. And
Yeah.
if we could just learn to tune into our bodies, which is probably a whole nother podcast, but like tuning into the body, I think that's why your point was like turning your body back online, I think you said, or something like
Yep.
that at the beginning of the podcast. I really recognize how important it is to pay attention to the nervous system and pay attention to whether you're in the sympathetic nervous system or the parasympathetic nervous system, and really creating a meditation practice around that. Do you have a meditation practice that you do daily to
Yeah.
bring all these things together? Yeah.
I have a spirit, I call it spirit filled morning.
Okay.
And I also have an evening practice. So those two are very, very powerful. And then during the day, I love a very simple meditation where I sit outside and I listen to the sounds of the world.
Mm.
And it's just the process of listening that attunes my consciousness to the present moment. And then I visualize that the present moment is like this golden gate that I enter, right? So it's the golden gate, and I'm very visual, Eva. So a lot of times I visualize and I work with imagery process.
Yeah. Do you want to do a meditation right now for the podcast, like a 2-3 minute one?
Oh,
I'd love to hear your process,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Maybe
I
you
love.
could give them an idea, of like, what does it mean to sit with ourselves and meditate, right? What does it mean? People wonder all the time. Don't you get that question sometimes?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And look, I want to be frank about this.
Yeah.
It, meditation did not come to me spontaneously, naturally.
No.
I was like, how do you do this thing, meditation? So I did a lot of moving meditation when I would run. My
Yeah.
mind
Oh, cool.
set itself free.
Hmm.
So from a moving meditation, I actually was guided to these visualizations. So I do a lot of visualizations to
Okay.
open up the inner eye. And
Okay.
inner eye begins to see beyond the veil. So very powerful. Yeah, let's go on a little journey together.
I would absolutely love it. Thank you, Katerina.
You're welcome, darling. So let's just begin by making sure that our feet are on the ground and we are resting in this moment. With every breath we're going to take, we're going to give a command to our mind to soften. And let our jaw soften as well, and the shoulders. And you simply allow yourself to sink deeper into the velvety safety of this moment, becoming aware of the space around your body, beginning to Remember that this space is alive. It's filled with information. It's a quantum field and a quantum reality. And now we begin to move our awareness all the way into the center, in the middle of our chest. We begin to visualize a golden flame that represents our consciousness. And when you begin to see this flame to grow and expand, feel the warmth spreading from your chest all the way down to your fingertips, filling your spine and your toes, filling your body with loving awareness. And now imagine that we are going to attune to the most harmonic, resonant field that already exists. We attune to it with our presence and our attention. See, feel, or imagine a field of resonance revealing itself around you. Allow this field of resonance to harmonize your thoughts, feelings, and the body sensations. And we're just gonna finish this attunement process with appreciation. Just feeling this sense of appreciation for this moment, that your intuition was guided you to be here, to learn, to expand, to remember. Every moment of appreciation raises your vibration. And when your vibration raises, you're able to create new choices, new experiences, and new alignment. Taking a deep breath in. In a few moments, I'm going to invite you to open your eyes. And before you do that, I'd like you to remember that the only thing that changes is you opening your physical eyes. The quantum field is there. Resonant field is there. The golden flame in your heart. So the true journey of building this intimacy with your heart is to cultivate this dual awareness on the inner and on the outer. Let's take a deep breath. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes.
Wow. That was amazing. That was so good. Oh my gosh. I'm so in my joy right now, Katerina. Thank you. You're a beautiful soul, and you help so many people. Thank you for your service, and thank you for coming on this podcast today.
You're so welcome, beloved. I'm so grateful to share this timeless vortex with you.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. So for everyone that just experienced like just a beautiful journey of a podcast, we want to thank you for listening. Katerina's information is going to be in the show notes, and I highly recommend you follow her on Facebook. She does many channeling and lives, and she just speaks her soul like she just did every time she comes live. And she has her paid offerings as well that you can take part in. And also her Instagram page, is it Katerina Satori? Yeah.
Katerina Satori.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic. So I'm going to put her website. I'm going to put all of her handles down there. I hope that all of you enjoyed this podcast. The art of romancing your heart as much as I did. I love you, Katerina, and I love everyone who's listening. Have a beautiful night.
Thank you.